Hello everyone, my name is Eric Sadler, and my article was Tullmann and Buckwalter's piece, Does the Paradox of Fiction Exist? From 2013. So the ultimate goal of Tullmann and Buckwalter is to prove that, as it's written today, the paradox of fiction does not exist. And in order to do this, they first show that the paradox has an ambiguity in the term exist, so it's not very clear what the paradox is actually saying. So what they do is they rewrite the paradox with three new possible definitions of the term exist, and then they use these definitions and explore three emotion-producing theories, like how we actually have emotions in the first place. And then through exploring these emotional theories and these new definitions of the term exist, Tullmann and Buckwalter conclude that there is no conflict between the two, and that it is possible that fictional objects can rationally produce genuine emotions. So, the paradox of fiction does not exist. That's the general overview of the article, so let's go into some particulars. What is the paradox of fiction in the first place? Very briefly put, the paradox of fiction is the following. We have genuine emotions to fictional stories or fictional objects. We know that these fictional objects aren't real, they don't exist. But we can only have rational emotions, genuine emotions, for something that exists. Therefore, it's irrational for us to have genuine emotions for fictional objects, because those fictional objects don't exist. Now, when you dig into this paradox, you actually find some ambiguity here. And Tullmann and Buckwalter state that there are three possible rewordings of this paradox. And they say that the first one is that we don't believe fictional characters or objects to be concrete particulars, meaning that they don't exist in space and time. It's not like a tree or a desk or a house. So we don't see fictional characters as concrete objects, but our genuine emotional response seems to imply that we do see them as concrete particulars. So the next definition is that we don't see fictional objects as existing as possible concrete particulars, meaning that maybe in a possible world somewhere they could exist as a concrete particular. This paradox is saying we don't see them as possible concrete particulars, but our genuine emotional responses seems to imply that we do see them as possible concrete particulars. And then the last formulation of the paradox is that we don't see fictional objects as anything other than imaginary, but our genuine emotional responses seems to imply that we see those things as something other than an imaginary object, so maybe a concrete or possibly concrete object. So with all this in mind, they then turn their attention to the three possible emotional theories of emotion production. And those are non-cognitive or feelings-based, hybrid or judgment-based, and then pure cognitive or belief-based. So what they do is they say for non-cognitive theories of emotion that emotions are produced by outside environmental stimuli, and our bodily feelings are the emotions. So there's no intellectual process involved at all. And Tullmann and Buckwalter state that fictional objects can produce feelings this way, because it doesn't matter if an object is imaginary or not, it can produce this involuntary response. The next one is hybrid, which is a judgment-based one, which is a mix between an intellectual process and an involuntary physical process. And so what this theory states is that we have emotions because we apprise our situation, our environment, and we make judgments about our environment. And Tullmann and Buckwalter state that fictional objects also cause these emotions this way because we can see a fictional object, we can make judgments about it, and we can relate it to us and our situation. The last emotional theory is something called pure cognitive theory, and that's purely intellectual. It does not deal with involuntary physical actions at all. And what it says is that emotions are produced because an object motivates us to act a certain way. And so Tullmann and Buckwalter state that fictional objects can also do this because a fictional character can motivate us to act in a certain way. For example, a fictional character can motivate us to move to a new city because we want to be like them or emulate them. So ultimately, because all the theories of emotion rationally explain how fictional objects can produce genuine emotions, the paradox of fiction does not exist, according to Buckwalter and Tullmann. Finally, for those of you who are a bit more visual, I've provided a standardized form of this argument, and you can look at it at your leisure. Thanks for listening.